Peace, family.
Peace.
How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Glad to be here with everybody again on another session with Mad Liberation Education. As we do and are finishing up the book Ritual by brother
Malidoma Patrice Somé.
Ashe,
May the
Ashe,
ancestors be pleased with his spirit as he just transitioned a couple weeks ago.
Ashe, Ashe.
And also, happy winter solstice, everybody. Solstice, I'm sorry. Why I say solstice? Anyway, happy winter solstice, everyone. Uh-oh, it's Angie. Close the door, Angie.
I'm
Close the
just gonna
door.
share this on Facebook real quick from
Yes.
YouTube. Make sure you guys go like the YouTube page.
Please subscribe, like, share, tell a friend.
Write something quick. All right. So yes, we today this is part 8 of Ritual. I believe this week coming up to be our last week, so we're gonna finish out the book this week. And I've been excited about this book. I really learned a lot so far. I really learned so many things that we can start to implement into the community right now
Zion. Sorry, man.
to kind of make us whole, you know. So I've been learning, and we here again. So again, make sure you guys like the YouTube page. Make sure you share it, and make sure y'all drop some ideas and other things in the comments for books to do next. All right, let me share this to Facebook real quick. Share it twice. We'll see. So yeah. So, so I guess we can do like we do each week. So we always start off by checking in. So we're gonna give us the side of the space to check in first.
Well, my week has been good. It seems like it's not Tuesday. It seems like it's further along in the week than that. But we just been busy as usual, business as usual. But we've been able to play a little bit too, so that's been good. It's getting cold, but that means we get to dress in our cute little winter gear and sweaters and all that good stuff. But yes, everything has been great. Wrapping up the end of the school year, kind of, sort of, at our halfway point. But yes, all is well.
I say, same thing she said. Nah, we always together and stuff. But no, my week has been going well. As usual, busy with school, busy with the tasks, busy with family, so on and so forth. But my week has been going well. I feel good. Again, I'm just excited to be almost wrapping up another book. I'm excited that we chose this book to actually proceed and read. I wasn't really ready for the message. I really wasn't. I didn't know what we were getting into when we started it a little bit, but this also confirms, right, that we, right, and this goes for the people that I know, for my friends and acquaintances, we on the right track, at least with our spirituality, as eclectic, as eclectic people. We are, I believe we're in tune, so I believe we're in tune and we're on the right path. And as we continue to tap into spiritual things, spiritual ceremonies, so on and so forth,
Peace, Candy
we'll
girl.
be good. Hey, Candy, glad you're here with us.
Yes,
Glad you're here with
yes.
us. Tell us how your week was. How was your week? How's everything going?
You
How's the
gotta tell us in
boys?
10 words or less. Not just playing.
All right.
But yes, always good to have our tribe on. So again, thank you, Candy, and we hope everybody else joins in soon. But again, this book has been, like Bomani said, great. I've enjoyed it. Been learning lessons from it ever since I opened it. So
right. And this week is some wonderful things. We're not gonna be on too long, but it's some cool things and some cool connections, and we'll be able to see we'll be able to see the traditions that we were able to bring uh over the Atlantic Ocean over here, and why we practice and do some of the things that we do, right? Why do we have so much emotion surrounding death and funerals? Why do we have so much tradition surrounding funerals? So on and so forth. My sister, she sings every funeral. You know, everybody she knows, they get her to sing at the funeral. But that's actually a role that's played in funerals, right? The people who come to harmonize, the people who come you know, what I like to call professional mourners, so on and so forth. You know, so we up in here, y'all.
Peace, Olarifa.
Peace, peace.
Thank you for tapping in.
Yes, wonderful. We love all these spirits we needed. We need all this wonderful positive energy and things. Okay. So the first part we're gonna jump into, it talked about and this is important, the structure of ritual, right? Because ritual or ceremonies, they all have to have a structure, right? Brother Malidoma talks about how each ritual won't be the exact same, right? Some of the same elements, some of the same intentions, but these rituals or ceremonies have to have a structure, right? And so we're going to tap into some of the things he talked about in the structure, and he gives us a wonderful example of a funeral, right? And he talks about each role of each person's in the funeral.
But here, well, just to back up just a little bit,
Get in there.
Don't tease me with a good time, okay? Anyway,
maybe turn the camera off.
Anyway, but as far as the structure of ritual,
hold on.
Nothing's happening, y'all. We're back. Okay. But anywho, yes, he talks about specifically drumming. How drumming is definitely language, tapping into spirit, and how each, like he said, when he pulls up to the drum session, when they pass it to him, the rhythm to him, he interprets it the way he is communicating with spirit. You know, each person is communicating different. So like he said, there's a bunch of different opinions, so to speak, happening as each person is drumming. And as each person is drumming and communicating, there's a bunch of different opinions in the mix now, because each person is hearing something different while also staying in rhythm with each other, which is not always easy either, to hear the person next to you when you're trying to kind of play your own thing with everybody having their own equal space. But he also says, you know, beware of the person that has no rhythm, because that means they're not, I mean, I guess spirit hasn't touched them quite yet, but like he said, it's not, we can't communicate. And he said it breaks up the whole rhythm of the circle, and everybody's trying to kind of catch up and everything like that. So I like the way he described that, specifically with music and vibrations.
And he talks about for those people who don't have the means to play that part, they don't, right? So if you have a person who can't catch rhythm, he ought not, or she ought not be on the drums as we're doing a ceremony that involves drums, right? And when Z was talking, it reminded me of jazz, how the brothers and sisters have jazz sessions, right? I believe it's jazz, right? Jazz sessions, jazz specifically. But you got, you know, the brothers will come and they'll have a live set, and they'll just start playing. They won't have a set. They won't have music that they're playing to, right? You'll have the clarinet, the brother on the clarinet just start, and then the trombone kick in, then the brother on the drums will kick in. Then you have this whole jam session, right? And I think, the building the beat. And I think jazz was created based on that. You know, the connectivity and the rhythmic flow of multiple musicians playing individually, spontaneously. You know, so again, one thing that shows us that in our community, that's how we're supposed to work. I always talk about the sisters over there at Spirit House, and they have they talk about I think it's anyway, I'm gonna skip. They talk about how the birds, I don't know, is it called reverberation, or they talk about murmuration, right? Yes. With the specific bird, and you know how we look up in the sky and we'll see, you know, 1,000, 100,000 birds flying in a flock, and they're rhythmically together. No birds are hitting each other. None of these birds are conflicting with each other.
Right, and you can't tell who the leader is.
You can't tell who the leader is, and you look up at it, and it just looks like a big old ball or a big old, you know, shape taking different forms, and it's like thousands of birds. And they talk about what that is, you know, and again, that's how our community should flow, rhythmically, right? And nobody being able to identify who the leader is, and everybody is responsible for everybody. So within that system of birds, it's like 5 birds in each group, and those 5 birds are responsible for watching each other's back.
Right.
And within these 5 birds, there's 5 more birds and 5 groups that are watching each other,
Right.
so on and so forth, until they have this big system and everybody's working together. It's in tangent, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. Thousands of
Right.
birds
Hey,
fly in this big
Salida.
circle, you know.
We see you just tapped in.
I say,
I say, and yes, Olarifa, like you said, some white folks just ain't got rhythm, and you know why? Because that's an actual language.
Mhm.
Rhythm is an actual language of the universe,
Right.
and that is something that we as melanated people are just tapped in. It's innate in us. Even
Right.
from when the day our babies are born, they can catch a beat like nothing. It's inside of them. Like I said, it's in their DNA. So yes, that is very true. We've all been in those situations where we've been with our counterparts and they just can't. And the crazy part is we be trying to figure out why they can't really catch them. You know what I'm saying? It's very foreign and very interesting to us how somebody could hear a beat and not get on point with
and
it.
he talks about, I think in the previous chapter, he talks about when we're having these ceremonies and a foreigner were to walk up or pull up, they would think it's complete chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, versus the people who are participating in it, they feel and see the harmony within that particular ceremony. You know, and I think all of us have been a part of drum circles here in Birmingham.
Right.
And you can see people kind of, you know, we got the police called on us one night at the park because we was playing the drums,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because it sounds like racket to them.
Right.
It sounds like that jungle music, that racket that they playing, because they aren't in tune. They don't have that really, whatever that is, that soul, that rhythmic possession. They don't have
tones,
that,
right?
so they couldn't appreciate. You know, I believe who was leader. She says interdependence versus individualism, a world of difference. Capitalism sucks. You know, that it speaks for itself right there. We're always, again, we are not a monolithic type of people. Everybody's not supposed to be the same. We ought have different opinions, different, you know,
walks of life. We all have different journeys.
But our end goal should be the same, right? So if you're talking about spirituality, our end goal is spirituality. Our political end goal, you know, we talk about we want freedom. Specifically, this study group, we talk about, you know, we want freedom. Let's get free.
Right.
So yes, out of all of our individualism, our goal is to get free.
Right.
So all of you, I need you to use your resources, your talents, and everything to advance this goal that we all should have, that we all share.
Just like we use our resources and talents to advance the machine.
You
know, we have to do it for ourselves.
So again, this first part we're talking about is the structure of ritual, and he lays out.
He lays out the components of sacred spaces specifically. Like he says, sacred comes in Zion.
Hold on, y'all, children.
Sit down. I mean, Zakeem, sit down, baby. I'm sorry. Okay. That was good. But anyway, so he talks about the components of sacred spaces, which means that you have invoked spirits to come into this space. That's what he considers it being sacred, when you invoke the spirits, non-human entities to come in. So the first one is invocation. So again, when we're invoking the spirits, we are requesting that these, like we said, non-human entities come into our lives and handle whatever situation is above our pay grade, as I like to talk about. The second one is dialogical. So he talks about the language that you and the spirit have between each other. Like that doesn't, the way Bomani talks to his spirits and the way I talk to mine, two completely different things, but it's not wrong. We all have our own language with our spirits, but it's important that we do have structure there. And it's always important, again, when we're invoking spirits, that we don't tell them to do anything. We're not demanding them to do anything. We're being respectful, we're honoring them, and we're requesting if they so see fit to come into our situation and help us out with it. The third one is repetitive. So he talks about how no two rituals will be the same. But the structure of the ritual will kind of be in the same place. But I understand that, because I understand that when the next ritual is done, all the people who were there before are not there. So it's not consistent, in that aspect, but the way it's ran, the way the items we need to have and things like that are the same. So, but repetitiveness, consistency. if you start on this journey again with the spirits, because a lot of them are temperamental too. You know, you can't just tamper with them and then not feed them or not honor them the way you should. The fourth one is opening and closure. So this is something that I didn't even think about. Opening, yes, I always think about doing libations, you know, pouring back into the vessel, back into the ancestors that continuously help us. But I didn't think about the closure part of it. How you tell the spirits that, you know, I'm ready to enter back, as he says, into the, what does he say? He's ready to enter back into the, you know, normal world, the earthly world, and that you not necessarily dismiss the spirits, but you send them away back to a comfortable space, a space they came from. So those four things specifically are the four important components that Malidoma wanted us to know about sacred spaces, which is invocation, um, dialogical, again, the language between you and your spirit guides, repetitiveness, the consistency of ritual and sacredness, and also the opening and the closure of each ceremony.
Ashe. Thank you. So again, we have, with our spiritual journeys, right? We should have sacred spaces that we've created for us to take some time to get away, to breathe, right? And some of those spaces, you may have created an altar space, you may have created a shrine, you may have your meditation spaces, your prayer spaces, so on and so forth. And these spaces are sacred, and when we're doing ritual, when we're creating ceremony, the invocation, to the make sure we're opening and closing our space, making sure we're speaking the language of the ancestors, honoring them, in the way in the spirits, honoring them in the way that's needed for them to come down and assist us, are all important. So again, our sacred spaces and our structure within those spaces are important. Our structure within those rituals are important. And an opportunity for all of us to see this year, and before the year's up, is our ritual that we do with Kwanzaa. Each year there's which should be a community ceremony, community rituals associated with Kwanzaa. And you'll see that we open up each space, with pouring libations or asking the elder, is it well to continue? And you'll see that they have the invocation of the spirits. Right, there's a structure and a way that everybody's supposed to interact and commune in these ceremonies at Kwanzaa, and there's a closing. So we'll all be able to see that this year if we do participate in our local Kwanzaa events. And I believe, Candy, I'm gonna try to see if anything cracking down there in Mobile. Right. But for our people here in Birmingham, you'll be able to see the ritual ceremony of that. And we should be able to feel the power within that, especially if we're going into it with intentions. Right. Knowing that we are going in there to build our connectivity, knowing that we are going in there to bond, but knowing that we're going in there to build community. Right. And gathering, so on and so forth.
To reap the benefits of the harvest. Yes.
All right. So that's, again, that part was the structure of ritual. So the next part is a ritual sampler, the funeral and language of grief. Right. So Brother Malidoma is wonderful with telling his stories. So again, he was able to tell us a story of the funeral and the whole process from beginning to end. And I'm not gonna go over the whole process, but some of that process is, you have. Sorry, y'all, I'm hearing stuff over here. But you have the mourners, right? And then you have the elders who come in and invoke the spirit. Right. You have the ones who come in to hold the music and do the music, specifically the xylophone. You have the mourners, right? You have elders when the funeral actually takes place. You have elders who sit next to the body, right? In the Dakara religion, they kind of do funerals similar to what we would see in New Orleans, right? They make sure they dress the person up, they sit them, and people come, and it's ritualistically give them gifts, give their family gifts, so on and so forth. My point is that there's a specific structure to rituals. There's a specific structure to funerals, right? And he specifically talks about in the Dakara that structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to relate some of the things that we do here, and that's that we may not know that came from home, right?
Right.
Or that we do in the diaspora as it relates to
A lot of, well,
funerals,
yeah, funerals
right?
specifically, yeah.
So again, at each funeral, I don't necessarily partake in funerals, right? And he talks about that too. The people who uh, don't go to funeral. He talks about. Well, I'm gonna back up a little bit. Uh, he talks about grief. We're gonna start with grief. He talks about grief and how grief is a way to
Let's see, Candy. We're gonna get to your
a,
question.
a way to assist
Mm-hmm.
the dead into transitioning to the next realm, right? Uh, we all know that there's probably the most emotions that we ever had in our lifetime surrounding death, right? Or maybe when a child is born or something like that. But specifically, death brings this emotion. And a lot of people, we're taught here, I've been taught to run away from these emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Men don't cry, get over it, so on and so forth. But in the Dakara tribe, they believe that grief allows, assist the dead on transitioning over to the next realm.
Mm-hmm.
And the actions of communal grief are important to the tribe. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of
Yeah.
spiritual connectivity there. There's a lot of opportunity for ritual, right? He talks about that in our culture, how we see death. And when I say our culture over here in the West, how we see death has an end,
Right.
right?
Right.
Whereas indigenously, traditionally,
Mm-hmm.
death is just a transition to
To a
another
new
realm,
beginning, right?
to a new beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why a lot of the ritual that surrounds funerals are new beginning rituals,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even the elders that sit next to the body, they have fresh leaves that they fan the body with,
Mm-hmm.
and the fresh leaves represent the new
Right.
beginnings, right?
I don't know how to do that.
Let me see. Let's
So
answer
we're gonna
this,
get to
some of these comments real quick.
Candy Girl. We're gonna get to your
It
question.
says, since reading this chapter, do you believe that saying the person doing the most hollering is the one with the guilt? Uh, no. So again, I believe that. So again, he talks about how there are people who specifically play the role of mourning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he knows that there are specific family members and people who are close to the person who's transitioned that will be the loudest, holler the loudest, right? No, I just think that those people in this culture,
Mm-hmm.
I think that those people may have come from a line of people who mourn at
Yeah.
funerals,
Right.
right?
Right.
A lot of it in our culture could be a show, but no,
Yeah.
I just think those people are filled with so much emotion and so much
Right.
energy. And I think that we need that, right? So what Malidoma is saying that we need those people that holler and wail loudly, right? And one reason is, for one, is to remember that person, right? If we don't, and he says that if we don't do this, right, if we don't make a spectacle out of transitioning or make a spectacle out of death, we will be like desensitized to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody had died, we'd be like, oh, it's just somebody dead. Oh, well, just bury them, so on and so forth. We become desensitized. And here in the Western world, that is happened. When we hear somebody dying, it's like, oh well, bruh
Mm-hmm.
died or Miss Mary dead down the street. We have no, we like, so
Mm-hmm.
what? And what that does, that doesn't allow, Malidoma says it doesn't allow that person to
To pass up.
transition all the way
Yeah.
over, right? So they're sitting at the gates of the ancestral realm and they're not allowed to transition over because there was no grief for them. Nobody
Right.
cried for them. Nobody had ceremonies. So no, I don't necessarily think the loudest person is the one with most guilt, or it could be, but no, I think that person is just, just different, spiritually attached to that person differently from a person who's not dwelling and
Right.
crying.
I
But
think. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but he does prescribe grief during these times.
Yes, I was gonna say that. I believe that the person who is grieving like that is connected to that person. That person's spirit is probably energy doesn't die. It just transfers from person to person or thing to thing. And I believe that is the spirit of that person maybe they had unfinished business with whatever they had going on, and that is a grieving thing, that I had to leave this earth and not finish this business or whatever, like that. And that's the energy, like you said, that may need to open the gate for them to get into
Yeah.
the ancestral realm, because you do have people who are happy thinking about the life they had. They're not necessarily crying or grieving, they're smiling and laughing. So you need all of these balance. I guess it's a balance again of energies, no matter what realm or journey that you're on.
And he talks about if that person is not allowed to transition all the way over, I'm gonna get to it.
Okay.
If he talks about that person is not allowed to transition all the way over, they can interfere with earthly
Mm-hmm.
doings, right? So they can, he gives an example of a father and son that I'll get to, but they can interfere with what's going on here. We wondering why things ain't right. It's because we didn't, transition that person of our tribe, of our family in a correct
Right.
manner.
Or
But
like he says, we may have opened the journey with them, but we didn't close it. And that's important in the sacred space.
It said there are people to. It said there were people paid to do that in certain belief systems,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they did have, like I said, you have like professional mourners, and even in the Dakar belief system, I'm not gonna say that people were paid, but they have people that come to the funeral. There's a person who comes to the funeral specifically to mimic the grief of the people who are grieving,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say the mom, right, is grieving and she's hitting the ground. They actually have people there that are going to mimic her what she's doing, right? If she runs off a little bit, that person is going to run off with her and going to kind of mimic what she's doing, and it becomes like this dance, and it becomes like this ritual. And sometimes he says even up to 20 people can
Right.
like I say, in the case of a mom burying a child, the mom is grief stricken. She's pounding, she's yelling, and she's doing certain things. 20 people will be doing the same thing with her. And that's sharing her grief, sharing her pain, so on and so forth. And it creates a visual, like a sense of, a visual for people to see, to remember.
Right.
So yes, even in the Dakar culture, they have those people. They have that person who's going to come play the xylophone, right? The male energy and the female energy, and the drummers, the singers. They have specific people who play all these roles
Right.
within a funeral. I think they're doing construction on
Okay.
on an apartment next
And
door.
then again, with that, what you just said, we all have everybody has their role during it. Like I said, it's a grief ritual.
Yeah.
We all have our role to play, and like you said, you have community ritual, which this will be one. I would consider it one, a community funeral. You have community rituals, you have familial rituals with your family, and then you have individual ones. So I would imagine too, even during this grief process, that you would grieve with the community, you would grieve with your family, and then you would do your own individual grieving to make it all connect and to let that spirit pass to the next realm.
And he talks about it's also a part of the healing process, right? And one thing that me and Z were laughing at when we were talking about it earlier is how a person who doesn't cry, if you lose your mom or dad, or you lose somebody close to you, and you don't cry, you always got that person like, man, go on cry. You want to cry, man, go and get it out. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
But that has some truth to it. That has some cultural ties, right? That's something that we talk about. Is yes, go and get it out. It's okay to grieve. It's actually you are prescribed to grieve, right? Go and let that person transition well to the next realm. It's prescribed, and like Z said, the communal. It's a quote in here somewhere. I couldn't find it right off the back right now. It's a quote that says, "A community that can't grieve together can't laugh together." That has some truth to it. We can't share this pain together, right? Because it's a sharing of pain. It's a sharing of the grief. If we lose somebody in our community, we can't. How we gonna laugh together? How we gonna share the abundance and the happy parts, of our community?
At that point, right? Oh, Salita had. Here we go. Phone died. We get it, girl. But I was gonna ask about cremation thoughts. Oh, okay, this is a good one. Whoa. Actually, I was having a conversation with Olarifa, who's one of our spiritual guides and also one of our sisters. But about we're having a conversation about life insurance, and my personal thoughts about it is I don't really care for it or not see the importance in it, but it's just not I weigh my pros and cons. I'll say that. But we also were saying that, if you don't believe in that kind of thing, that you do need to know about indigenous, specifically with us, in traditional African burial practices. So we can, if you don't want to do this part, as far as, the westernized way of doing things, life insurance and things like that, you do need an alternative as well versus just saying, I don't want to do that because of what? Because we know we're all going to live and die. We're not going to make it out of here alive. We know that part. So cremation, yes, that is something I specifically want for myself because that's the closest thing I can think of is to getting back for real to the earth and it just being a place, that's sacred to me or my family. But yes, definitely I'm for it. Yes, and it's cheaper.
Wonderful. No, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So again, we're talking about trying to get back to our indigenous ways, right? And as we know, Africa, our people again are not a monolithic. Everybody's not the same everywhere. So in some cultures, yeah, they do prescribe cremation, so on and so forth. What I think here in the Western world, they have monetized everything so heavily. It's hard to even bury a loved one without capitalism, without money jumping into the into the realm of ritual or spirituality, right? So I mean, here in the Western world, it's hard to even if we did say we did choose and culturally say we want to bury our dead, right? It's so hard to do it because of monies, because of capitalism, right? So again, we're spending. It's not even about burying our dead in a ritual, in a way that'll get them to cross over. We're burying our dead in a way to make it look good to the people who come to the funerals, so on and so forth. So I think the spirit there, as far as burying somebody and going through the whole funeral uh, rituals here in America, it's monetized, so much capitalism in it. And here in this space, I would choose to be cremated, right? Until we do have a way where our bodies can actually go back to the earth, right? The ways that people are buried here, our bodies don't go back to the earth, man. We're buried in a box, first of all, and then that won't biodegrade, that won't degrade throughout the years. Right. And then inside that box is a concrete seal that seals that in. So we never go back to the earth as we're supposed to. I wouldn't want that for my body for thousands of years or hundreds of years or millions of years, right? I would want to go back to the earth. So the way I see fit, and this our personal beliefs is for cremation, and somehow we'll get back to the earth unless we have some biodegradable burials that we can be buried in.
Or push me on the water and set me on fire too. That works.
Right.
Tim Darker style. No, for real.
She said it's really grass family.
No, it's really gross.
Really gross families are
divided over funeral.
No,
right.
I know. Man, I mean, we got this concept of when people get like the checks for somebody dying in their family, we call it blood money.
Right.
And families do come apart. Families do fall apart. We had a death in the family a couple of years ago, grandmother,
the matriarch of the family.
It was kind of crazy. People coming at each other.
Never thought our family would be in that position. It's like what? But yes, yeah.
So again, one thing that we can do as a community is come together and say, look, this is the way we choose to bury our people. Because Islam, the Muslims have a way of burying their people. Catholic people. He talked in this book specifically. It talks about a Catholic mom who wouldn't, a Catholic wife who wouldn't let her husband go through the whole ritual ceremony, and because they were Catholic,
right?
And it caused a little disruption within their family because he wasn't able to transition over in the right way.
Right.
So again, people choose to be buried and choose to have funeral processions in different ways. Again, what's ours here? As diasporic Africans, what do we choose to do? Or are we just going to continue to feed into capitalism when it comes to burying our people?
Right.
Are we going to continue to go in debt hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes to bury our people,
Mhm.
so on and so forth.
And I think us knowing, being conscious people, is to have these conversations with our children or our loved ones. I know when I was younger, I did not. My dad used to want to have these conversations with me when I was in middle school, definitely when I got to high school, and I would be like, Dad, I do not want to talk about you dying. I don't even want to talk about that, But he always was a realist, and he's like, this is going to happen, and we have to talk about what I want and how my spirit can rest well, and your spirit can be well also. So I think we definitely have to have these conversations with our children and our loved ones who we know, our life or lack thereof at that point is in their hands, and we want to be honored the correct way. We'll have to come back, and they're gonna have to doing some rituals to get us right, and we don't want all that. Yes. Oh no, wow.
I don't want to make everybody yawn. Sorry,
Wow, that's
y'all.
contagious, but okay.
Tell me if you yawned out there. So again, he just talks about the process with the funeral and how each individual plays their part.
Mm-hmm.
And in our community, in our life, if we want to have a successful, if we want to have a thriving, if we want to have a true definition of community amongst us, we're going to have some structure. We're going to have some rituals, some things that we do to bring our communities together. Right. And we're going to have some, again, there's so much energy and so much power surrounding death and surrounding like funerals. We definitely have to tap into that as a community, but we ought not only let that be our only reason to come together, our only reason to do rituals, our only reason to do ceremonies, right? We should come together in life. We should come together in love. We should come together because it's the summer, because it's all as well, and not only just put so much energy surrounding trauma. We talked about how most of our events that we see in a community are born out of trauma or based out of trauma. We'll have a domestic violence event, right? Or stop the killing event, or we having protests against something that atrocity that happened in this area, or the police did this. So it's always and again, I've met so many wonderful friends at protests, so many wonderful friends at anti-domestic violence events. I met my tribe out there, what I'm saying, fighting against the pigs in Mobile, so on and so forth.
But we would be right. We would be lying if we said it wouldn't be, because that also with us meeting them at these protests, it was a trauma bond as well.
Yeah,
sort of you know what I'm saying? Bond. So we have to think about. But I know if we would have met under better circumstances, that bond would have been stronger. Yeah. It would have been stronger from the beginning. But it's a bond nonetheless. Yeah. But what we need to do is not be so attracted to that only kind of bond. It's okay to be happy and bond with folks.
Again, y'all.
No.
I'm getting tired. I apologize.
But yes, we start looking for the brighter side of life for real, and let's start doing rituals around it.
And there is love within those events, because you wouldn't be there if you didn't have love for the sisters and the brothers going through domestic violence. We didn't have love for our community, and if we didn't have love, we wouldn't be able to go stand up against the police, stand up against city council, so on and so forth. So there's love there, but it's like, let's come together in love, outside of, these traumatic things, let's see some of these.
There we go. All right, this is from Salida. They love to watch us bleed. Yes, some brutalization of Black bodies is a game to them. We must deviate. As you say, celebrate closeness and living. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
Right. Let's again, a lot of these things, a lot of these issues can be solved if we were a true community.
Right.
If we did protect our community like we say we do and want to,
with rituals, exactly.
So again, they love to see us in stress. Let's change that narrative. And I think we have. I think that many of our folks are finding happiness within the minimal things, right? I think that since Corona, a lot of people are finding themselves and what they like and love and they're not just being of the machine and doing what society tells them. They're not just saying, I'm just gonna work this 9 to 5 because society has taught me to do so. Sisters and brothers out here taking control of their lives right now in a major way. So again, it's a beautiful thing to see in these moments. Because they love, like you say, they love this. It's a game to them to see us distressed. It's a game to them to see us going through the effects of poverty. It's a game to them to even see us rebel, right? Because they know a lot of the things are not sustainable. So let's make these things sustainable. Let's show them that we don't need them, that we will create safe communities on our own. That we have the ability to create
to do so, right.
to create loving environments without somebody passing a law or a resolution. Right. We're gonna take this power into our own because we are our own.
We make our own standards. We make our own laws. Not even laws. We make our own principles.
Right.
We tired of laws.
Right.
Just because the law don't mean it's right. So we are gonna stand on principle is the main thing.
Shay, and again, the big thing about this whole book is just being anti-machine, not letting the machine take over your life, not letting the machine fill you with this false sense of
life,
power, this false sense of life, and you're not even able to tap into yourself, tap into your family.
Right.
We spend 8 hours working. We spend 8 hours advancing the machine,
or more.
Or more.
A lot of us have 2 jobs, and a job in the hustle. For real, we really spend a lot of time giving to them.
And we come home and can't even take 15, 20 minutes to ourselves to meditate, because we come home, we got to cook, we got to do this, we got to do that, got to make sure the bills paid, I got to get some sleep so I can get back up the next morning, so we hardly ever have time to heal, time to think, time to build bonds with your family, so on and so forth.
Time to be with your spirit.
So again, this whole book is about, how do we create a community where we can heal? How do we create a community where we can have the name of the book is called Ritual, Power, Healing, and Community. How do we how are we able to feel a sense of power, spiritual power, within this system where the machine dominates everything?
Right. And then with this book as well, it's important to remember, he talks about, like you said, all of us over the diaspora. But he's specifically speaking of the ways of the Dagara tribe, his people, where he comes from, and how they live and their understanding of spirit and ritual. And this is the way he grew up, and he lives his tonal life by these codes, so to speak. So yes, it's important to remember that. And we need to pick up a lot of these because I don't see an issue with transitioning over to them because they're not far away from what a lot of us believe anyway. It's really not. It's just all connected right now.
Yeah, we unintentionally or intentionally bought so many things from home as they stretched us out throughout the diaspora. So a lot of the things that we do already are similar to the rituals that are prescribed by Brother Malidoma. We already have people who come to the funerals. He talks about what I like to call vultures, right? Those people who flock to funerals or flock to death. He talks about those people. We have those,
Right. He talks about, I was reading another book as it relates to African spirituality, and how we take things, like you just said, from way back. The libations. Of course, back in the day, I don't know if they do it now, we're further along in 2020. Pouring some liquor out for your dead homies. Like she said, I like to think.
Be doing that in 2020.
I don't know, child. But look, we was doing it with the M.A.D 2020. But she was just talking about the continuum of how we didn't think this was African and then or have no idea what we think we got, but it came from home. It may have just been different, just like different spiritual systems, Candomblé, Saturday, anything like that. So we're still, like I said, it's innate in your DNA. Don't forget where you come from or who you were lifetimes ago. So those things are still, like I said, it's a continuum.
Yeah, it just starts
spirituality.
It just starts to be expressed in different ways, right? That's why we can look at the church and see connectivity of how brothers and sisters dance or invoke the spirit or feel the spirit, or we can see the connections, we can see the similarities.
Yeah. And the interdependency of it all as well.
I say. So I think that was about it for this section.
You're looking very handsome tonight.
I'm maybe turn the camera off again.
Okay.
Hold up, y'all. Hold up.
So silly.
Don't touch me like that.
Okay.
All right.
We're back.
All right. So the last part is called the farewell. So we'll finish out for this week the rest of the book. Again, Ritual by Brother Malidoma Patrice Somé.
Yes.
And we'll be bringing, hopefully, starting Sunday, we'll be bringing some Kwanzaa informationals to everybody, right? We'll try to do 7 days of Kwanzaa and just get everybody ready for those Kwanzaa events. We're gonna try to get on nice and early each day, go live, talk about the principle, talk about the politics, talk about the things surrounding Kwanzaa, and we'll not gonna be added to the video call. Oh, we gonna add you.
So yes, but if we do, well, we're thinking of how specifically, logistically, we're gonna do it. But yes, Candy Girl, you'll get all the information.
Yeah, we'll send you information. We'll call you, chop it up with you because we do want to make sure this information gets out, right?
Yes.
Me and Z, we understand that it's politics in everything that we do. It's politics in every move that we make.
Right.
That's the definition of politics, just affecting other things. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that we want Kwanzaa to be a community ritual that we celebrate, that we commemorate each year, and those principles that we celebrate and commemorate and honor throughout the year, right? So we want this to be one of our community rituals that we do well and intact, right? So me and Z we're gonna go live and talk about the politics of Kwanzaa and how to implement it in your life, so on and so forth.
Right.
So make sure y'all looking out for that. We're gonna tap in 7 days of Kwanzaa with the Teray family. Again, we're gonna finish out the book. So next week will be our last session with this book, and we have the next book. I think I'm not quite sure yet, but our next book.
Hopefully we'll see, because we are taking suggestions. This is not just our stuff, y'all. Okay, so if you have anything you would like to suggest to the group, please do. We can, go about how we want to do the next one. But if we so choose, the next one should be actually Malidoma's ex-wife. Her name is Sombunfu Somé, and she has the book The Spirit of Intimacy, which is about the African teachings and about African relationships and how it's how it is where, and she's actually from if I'm not mistaken, she may be from the same tribe as him, if I'm not mistaken. But just like they said, the way of doing things from the motherland and the African way of doing things. Yes.
And I know a lot of people have been asking for me and Z to, talk more about relationship things and things outside of the movement or things outside of the revolution. So we're
just the revolutionary niggas.
Yeah, we're the revolutionary Negroes. So we're gonna try to make sure that we bring other things to y'all. So yeah, we're gonna start with Kwanzaa. So that'll be our initiation to talk about things outside of the movement. So look, everybody, make sure you like our YouTube page, subscribe. Make sure y'all share this information. Make sure y'all just tapping in with us and being on the lookout for our next move. And we appreciate everybody, Candy, Salida, Olarifa. We appreciate y'all for tapping in and interacting with us.
Love y'all so much.
Yes, we have to share this knowledge and build upon each other. If we don't, then who?
Ashe.
So peace. We love y'all. We'll tap in next week. We'll see you Thursday for the IBFA call.
All right, let's get free, y'all.
Ashe.